Now, if you've just bought yourself a DDJ-FLX4 and you're not quite sure where to start, this video is going to give you a clear direction. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of features, and it's very easy to be tempted to just try and learn everything at once. But in this video, I'm going to show you what actually matters on the DDJ-FLX4. I'm also going to show you which features to ignore for now and how to approach this controller properly so that you can go from complete beginner to confidently DJing as efficiently as possible. This isn't about flashy tricks. This is about building the right foundations. My name's Blakey and I've been a pro DJ for over 20 years. I'm a former DMC UK champion and I've helped thousands of DJs level up with my online courses. And by the end of this video, you will have a decent understanding of exactly how to use your DDJ-FLX4. So let's get into it. Now the DDJ-FLX4 does class as a beginner controller, but don't let that fool you, because even if you were an intermediate DJ, this controller has more than enough features for you to learn how to DJ properly. Honestly, you don't need better gear than this. If you just spend your time learning the foundational skills, then this is more than enough. Here's what actually matters on the DDJ-FLX4. So you've got two deck sections. This is the left deck and this is the right deck. And then in the middle, this is what's called the mixer section. The circular things in the middle of the deck section, these are called the jog wheels. And they're designed to kind of mimic old school turntables and vinyl. But when you're first starting out as a DJ, you're simply going to use these jog wheels to nudge a track back in time by pushing it forward or pulling it back. And we're going to cover that a little bit more in depth later in the video. Underneath each jog wheel, you've got these 8 performance pads here. Now the function of these pads changes depending on which pad mode you've selected. Now in this video, we're not going to go in depth into what the pad modes do, because frankly, you don't need to use them at this stage. The truth is there's a lot of depth and complexity inside these pad modes. And at this stage, that will just be noise that will distract you from learning the core foundational DJ skills. These two knobs here, these are your headphone controls. Your headphones plug into the front of the DDJ-FLX4 right here. And this is where you can adjust the volume of the headphones. And again, it's something we're going to cover more in depth later in the video. And then finally, on our laptop, we have the Rekordbox software. And your DDJ-FLX4 is simply a controller for the software. When you're first starting out, there's so much in the software that you don't need to understand or even touch. We're only going to be going over the basics today so that you don't get overwhelmed. Really, all of your focus right now should be on two things: the mixer section in the middle and the two jog wheels. If you master just these two sections, you're going to already sound better than most beginner DJs. At the end of the day, the job of a DJ is to play songs one after the other and use the mixer section and the deck section to create a continuous mix where you control the energy on the dance floor and keep people engaged for as long as you can. And all you need to do this are the two jog wheels, the mixer section, and a pair of headphones. The performance pads, they are cool and you can do a lot with them, but they aren't important yet. Now, before we get mixing, we need to get some music inside Rekordbox so that we have some tracks to play. Now, most people, myself included, will use a streaming service inside Rekordbox to stream all of their music. And you have quite a few to choose from. You can use Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Beatport, BeatSource, and SoundCloud. And which one of those services you choose will come down simply to the type of music that you play and the type of DJ that you want to be. So for example, if you want to be a tech house DJ, I would recommend Beatport, because Beatport is the perfect streaming service for dance music. Deep house, drum and bass, UK garage, dubstep. If you only want to focus on those genres, then Beatport is a no-brainer. I use Beatport all the time and it's great. But if you're a DJ that wants to play a wide mix of music, then maybe Tidal, Spotify, or Apple Music will be best for you. Most people will already have one of these streaming services that they're signed up to and they use all the time. And if that's the case, I recommend just signing into that account so that you can start using a streaming service inside Rekordbox and start building playlists. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Beatport account by clicking on the Beatport icon right here on the left inside Rekordbox. And this is where I can look through different genres of music inside Beatport. I could also search for a track by going over to the search bar, and let's type in Subfocus, and then we'll see all of the subfocus tracks inside Beatport. I use streaming services inside Rekordbox all the time, and I recommend you do the same because it makes finding music so much easier and far less time consuming. And then over on the left hand side, let's open up the genres right here. And this is where you can look inside any genre inside Beatport. So let's open up drum and bass. And then for each genre, there is a top 100 playlist, which is the top 100 tracks in that genre inside Beatport in terms of sales and streams. So this is a great way of finding out what tracks are big in your chosen genre today. And because there's 100, it's not just the massive well-known dance floor tracks. I've discovered a ton of new music in the UK garage genre that I never would have found if it wasn't for searching through the top 100. And for me, this is something that makes Beatport a really great choice as a streaming service inside any DJ software. You can also open up the playlists drop-down menu right here, and you can drag this out to make this wider. And this is a collection of playlists that have been made by Beatport in your chosen genre. And again, this is another way of finding tracks that you might have otherwise missed. A question I get asked all the time as a DJ educator is, where do pro DJs find new music and build out a professional music library inside their DJ software? And to answer this, I made a completely free mini course showing you the best places to find new tracks and how to build a library that's going to make your DJ life way easier. If you'd like to grab that for free, then just click the link in the description. Now, to make your own playlist inside Rekordbox, all you need to do is click on this playlist icon here, click on playlists, and then click this plus icon here, and then give this new playlist a name. Let's call it My New Music. And a really great tip is to use the playlist palettes feature inside Rekordbox by clicking on this icon here, and you can see that it has now opened up 4 blank lists. Now, what we can do here is we can drag any playlist from our Rekordbox list of playlists into one of these playlist palettes. So let's take that My New Music playlist that we just made and then drag that onto one of these blank lists. And now if I go to All Tracks, this will show all of the tracks inside my Rekordbox software, and we can start dragging tracks into that My New Music playlist. Playlist palettes are a great way of having multiple playlists visible whilst you're searching through other playlists inside Rekordbox. Now, one important tip before we move on is to just make sure that the music that you pick to practice with as a beginner is all from the same genre. When you get more advanced with your DJ techniques, that's when you can start mixing multiple genres together. But right now, to help you grasp the foundations and make life a little bit easier, just pick music from the same genre so that you can grasp the foundations of DJing properly. Now, the mixer section in the middle of the DDJ-FLX4, this is where DJing really happens. And the mixer section is right here. Down at the bottom, you have a crossfader, which goes from left to right. And the way this works is if the crossfader is all the way to the left, that means that only the left deck is playing out of the speakers. If we move the fader to the right, then only the right deck is playing out of the speakers. And if it's in the middle, that means that both tracks are playing. But the truth is, when it comes to learning mixing, very few people actually use the crossfader because you can achieve the same effect and the same sound by using the volume faders right here between the tracks. And actually the volume faders give you way more control over the sound. The volume fader is very straightforward. This one is for the right deck and this one is for the left deck. Nowadays, DJs only really use the crossfader for 2 things. Scratching, which is something that I teach in depth here on YouTube and through my courses, but it's also really useful for quickly cutting between 2 tracks, especially in genres like drum and bass and UK garage. But for today, we're not going to be using the crossfader at all. We're going to be using the volume faders to fade between 2 tracks in the mix. Just above the volume faders, you've got the cue buttons right here. And the cue buttons are very important when it comes to headphones. When you see a DJ on stage and they're wearing headphones, what they're doing is they're listening to the track that is currently not playing out of the speakers so that they can mix it in, make sure it's in time before bringing up the volume fader on the track that they've just lined up using the headphones. So let's press play on the right deck. And because the volume fader for the left deck is down, we need to make sure that the cue button for the left deck is activated like it is here. And that means that I can now listen to this track through the headphones. And this is really important because you don't want to be lining up the track and making sure that it's mixing right through the speakers, because everybody's going to hear you lining up the track, getting it in time, and that's just going to sound messy and unprofessional. So that's what the headphones are for. And you can control what you're listening to in the headphones by using the cue buttons here. You can actually listen to both by turning both of them on. And if you turn them off, but turn on the master cue right here, that means you will hear what is coming through the speakers at the venue through the headphones. And this can be useful, but for today, we're only going to be focusing on these two cue buttons right here so that we can line up our tracks in the headphones. Now, the DDJ-FLX4 is affordable, it's reliable, and it has everything that you need. And if you want some more in-depth tutorials for free, I've got a link in the description where you can grab 3 completely free lessons from my full course. Just click the link, type in your email, and I'll send them straight to your inbox. Now, just above the 2 headphone cue buttons, you've got the EQ section, which is right here, and you have an EQ strip for each deck right here. And I'm going to quickly talk you through what each of these EQ knobs does. So here on the right deck, this knob right here is the filter knob. So if I play this track on the right deck from the drop, I'm going to show you what the filter knob does, because it does 2 different things depending on whether you turn it to the left or turn it to the right. When the filter knob is in the middle, that means it's completely turned off and no filter will be applied. So if I turn it to the right, that is what is known as a high pass filter. And what that's doing is it's filtering out all of the low end bassy frequencies. And the further I turn it to the right, the more of those low frequencies it will filter out. So take another listen to that. So if I just move it that much, most of the track is still there, apart from the real low bassy frequencies. But if I keep turning it, the more I turn it, there's basically nothing left now apart from the very, very high-end frequencies. And if I keep going, pretty much the entire track has gone. And then let's bring it back round. So that is what is known as a high-pass filter. Now let's take a listen to what it sounds like when I turn the dial to the left. This is what is known as a low-pass filter, and it will do the opposite to the high-pass filter. Instead of filtering out the low, bassy frequencies, the low-pass filter will filter out all of the high-end frequencies. So when it's down there, it sounds like you're stood outside of a nightclub and you can hear the music from inside. But let's slowly bring it back around. And then put it in the middle, and that means that no filter is being applied. Now next up, the 3 knobs above the filter knob, these are the 3 EQ knobs. So this knob right here is the low EQ. This knob right here is the mid EQ. And this knob right here is the high EQ. So each one of these EQ knobs will adjust the bass frequencies here, the mid-range frequencies here, and the high-range frequencies. So all of your hi-hats are going to be coming through on this EQ right here. A lot of your vocals and synths are going to be coming through the mid here. And all of your bass is going to be coming through this one here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that same song again from the drop, and I'm going to play around with these 3 EQs so that you can see how each one affects the sound of the track. If you're listening through your laptop speakers, you may not hear a difference when I adjust the low, but if you want to hear that difference, then you're going to need to wear a pair of headphones so that you can clearly hear all of the bass frequencies. Over on the left-hand side, all of those knobs are exactly the same, but they will control the track on the left deck instead. And the last thing to be aware of on the mixer section are these two trim knobs right here. Now, the trim knobs are simply volume controls, but the reason that they exist when these two volume faders also exist is so that you can keep both of these volume faders at full and then use the trim levels to micro adjust the balance of volume between both tracks more accurately and more precisely. In my opinion, by far the best way of DJing is keeping both of these volume faders at full and then using the trims to micro adjust the balance between both tracks. In the middle of the DDJ-FLX4, you can actually see this right here, these lights. This is called the VU meter, and this will give you an indication of how the sound is coming through the DDJ-FLX4. So you can see right now that where it's peaking, it's actually yellow. But watch what happens to that light when I turn the trim up too much. So you can see right there, it's now clipping into the red. And this is called redlining. And it is absolutely something that you want to avoid, because redlining is going to cause the track coming out of the speakers to sound distorted. And it's one of the fastest ways of giving away that you're an amateur when it comes to DJing. If you're DJing and you see that your track is going into the red, all you need to do is bring down that trim. And I would recommend bringing it down so that it peaks on the third light. You could let it play into the fourth light because yellow is still okay. But just to be safe, I would bring it down so that it's peaking on the third light right there. Now, if you want a structured path from total beginner to confident DJ on the DDJ-FLX4, I've put together a full Flex 4 beginner to pro course to walk you through it all properly. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. Now, something really important to understand if you're a beginner DJ is the tempo of the song that you're playing. Unfortunately, DJ software makes this really easy to understand. So I've got two tracks loaded into my decks right here. And the left deck, you can see inside Rekordbox from this circle with a number in the middle, this tells you the BPM of the track on the left deck. And you can also see the BPM of the track on the right deck. Now, BPM stands for beats per minute, and every track has its own BPM. And in all honesty, this is one of the fundamental touch points between you and the songs that you're playing. You can understand so much about a track just by knowing the BPM. So the BPM of the track loaded into my left deck is 130, and the BPM of the track loaded into my right deck is 125. And this right here is the tempo fader, and you've got one for each deck. Now, if I bring these tempo faders down towards me, you'll see that the BPM increases. And if I push it down, you'll see that the BPM decreases. Now, the tempo fader is something that you're going to use an awful lot on your DJ journey. And if we're going to perform and create a continuous mix of music, the tempos or the BPMs of the tracks that we're playing, they have to match. If I was to play both of these tracks together, without adjusting the BPM, it's going to sound terrible. Take a listen. So, that is what we call a train wreck. Because one track is 130 BPM and one track is 125, these tracks can't be played together at the same speed. But this is really easy to fix. All we need to do is match the BPMs of both tracks. So this track is 130, and I want to make this track 130 to match this one. So all I need to do is move this tempo slider here until we get to 130. And now both of these tracks will play at the same tempo. Take a listen. I'm going to bring this track back slightly by nudging the jog wheel backwards. So now you can hear that both of those tracks are playing at exactly the same speed. And this is something that you're going to need to do every time you mix two tracks together. The BPMs have to match. Something else very important to understand when it comes to music and DJing is beats bars and phrases and why they matter. Now, to be completely honest with you, understanding phrasing and counting beats and bars is not the most fun part of your DJ journey, but it is probably one of the most important because all modern music, especially dance music, is structured in phrases of 32 beats. And to help you understand what beats are, I'm going to play this track and I'm going to put a counter on the screen that will count each one of the beats. There are 32 beats in a phrase, and at the end of this first phrase, I want you to listen closely to how the music changes. Every 32 beats, something new is going to happen. That may be a new bass line comes in. That may be the drums are removed and a breakdown section occurs, building up to a drop. That might be the track goes into the most energetic part of the track, which is called the drop. The important thing here is to understand that every 32 beats, the music changes. So you can hear there at the end of that 32 beat phrase, the drums are taken out of the track, and then it goes into what is known as the breakdown section. And the breakdown section is always followed by a build up and then a drop. Understanding phrasing is key because if we're playing a track and we start the track that we're mixing in at the wrong time, you're going to end up with two tracks where the phrases are completely out. This track might go into a breakdown, whilst this track is still 8 beats away from a breakdown. And that is just as bad as train wrecking. So it's crucial that we understand this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play this track out of the speakers, and we're going to listen to this track in the headphones by turning on the headphone cue button. And I'm going to let this track play, and then 32 beats after we started playing this track, I'm going to press play on this track. And then you'll hear that both tracks will be in a breakdown section and both tracks will build up and drop at the same time because we started playing this track at the correct phrase, so that both tracks will be in phrase. Let's take a listen. So that right there was quite a basic mix, but that will give you an idea of the type of mix that you should be practicing at this stage of your journey. The last thing you want to do is overcomplicate your mixes. Grasping and understanding the fundamentals is definitely the right way to go at this stage. And then if you want to take things further, I've got a bunch of YouTube videos and DJ courses that will help you take your mixing to more creative heights. But right now, just focus on the fundamentals. Now let's talk quickly about the effects section of the DDJ-FLX4, which is right here. And these are called the beat effects. And this is where you can add effects to your tracks that can help with your mixes. But I want to stress straight away that effects should really be used as subtly as possible, especially at this stage of your journey. It's very easy to turn on the effects and start using them too much, and that can start to drown out the music, which is exactly what we don't want. Effects should be there to enhance your mix, and less is always more. So this button right here will turn the beat effects on or off, and this dial right here, this will control the amount of effect that's being applied. And this switch right here, this will select which deck the effect is going to. So it's currently over to the left, which means the beat effect that you apply will only be sent to the track on deck 1. Switching it to 2 will make sure that the effect only goes to deck 2. And if you switch it all the way to the right, it will apply to both decks. Over in the Rekordbox software, if we click on the Effects tab, which is right here, you've got this quite congested effects section of the software here at the top, which to be honest is quite confusing. But fortunately, you don't actually need to look at the screen to control the effects. We can do everything from this section here. With the Effects Select button, if you press that, it will bring up the list of effects. Every time you press the Effects Select button, it will go down the list. And if you hold Shift and press the Effects Select button, it will go up the list. So now let's go to Echo. Let's switch the effects deck selector to deck 2 so that it's only going to be applied to this track. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press play on this deck and I'm going to trigger the echo and you'll see what it sounds like. It will apply an echo effect and the effect will apply even when I bring the volume down. So what I'll do is I'll show you what the echo sounds like and show you a couple of cool tricks that you can do using the volume fader. Let's take a listen. So that right there was a very simple 1 beat echo. 1 beat is the amount of time that the echo lasts for. And we can change this by using these beat buttons right here. You've got left and right. And what this will do is it will change the beat value of the echo that's being applied. So right now, the echo is set to 1 beat, as you can see here inside the Rekordbox software. If we press the left button, it will change to 3/4. Press it again, it will change to half. Press it again, quarter, eighth, and so on. If we press right, it will double the beat value. So we had it on 1 originally, and you can go all the way up to 8 beats. But for this, I'm actually going to change it to half a beat. Now take a listen to what it sounds like when I apply a half beat echo instead of a 1 beat echo. The echo is shorter, and I actually prefer a half beat echo. Let's take a listen. So when I have the level depth all the way down, even though the echo effect is turned on, no echo is being applied because the level or the depth of the echo is on 0. And as I turn it up, you'll hear that it will apply the echo gradually depending on how high I have the knob turned up. To be honest, I recommend you only use the echo effect at this stage and just play around, just like I was there, with turning the echo on, playing around with the up fader, just to get a feel for how the echo effect works. 99% of DJs out there, echo is their most used effect. But the key is to make sure you don't overuse it because it can very quickly make you sound like an amateur. If you just stick to everything I've taught you in this video and don't deviate into other features of the DDJ-FLX4 that might feel a little bit tempting at first, then you're going to set yourself up to learn DJing properly, the way it's supposed to be learnt. When you're ready to take your journey further, there are so many fun features on the DDJ-FLX4 ready for you to explore. There are loops, which can be controlled from these buttons up here. You've got these performance pads, which have hot cues, pad effects, even a sampler mode where you can load in your own sounds and start to trigger jingles containing your name or your own sound effects. But if you start to use features like that too early, you're just running before you can even walk. I see so many DJs try and rush their journey at the beginning, and this is a huge mistake. Nailing the fundamentals first is going to put you in a much better position to get to that professional level. So if you're new to DJing, trust me, everything that you need to learn right now is in this video. And when you get to a point where you want to take your skills further, you can check out my full DDJ-FLX4 beginner to pro course, which is linked in the description. But until then, keep things simple and just have fun getting to know the DDJ-FLX4 properly. Because in my opinion, DJing is one of the greatest hobbies in the world. There's nothing like it. And I've dedicated my entire life to not only mastering it, but now teaching people through my YouTube videos and online courses. The DDJ-FLX4 is more than enough. You just need focus, dedication, and the right guidance. And once you're done with everything I've taught you in this video, I've got a playlist right here, which is packed with DDJ-FLX4 tutorials that will take you from being a complete novice to being a more confident DJ in no time. Thanks for watching. My name is Blakey, and I'll see you on the next one.